loopcommunity.com. loopcommunity.com. loopcommunity.com.
Hey guys, I want to welcome you. Real quick before we get started, just want to check and make sure that you're getting audio. Can you hear me? If so, go ahead and type in the chat box, yeah, we can hear you, so I can know. I'd appreciate it.
loopcommunity.com. 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 loopcommunity.com.
All right, well, welcome.
loopcommunity.com.
I want to go ahead and welcome you today to the webinar. Today we're doing a webinar on leading effective rehearsals, and if you guys could go ahead and give me some feedback on the chat window, on the group chat on the side. Are you able to hear me okay? I want to just make sure that I'm getting the audio to you and that you're able to see the web stream. I want to welcome you today. Welcome you guys wherever you're from. I know that you're here and you really are just hoping, just like me, to learn a little bit more about how you can be a better worship leader, about how you can better lead your team to have an effective rehearsal. And so I just wanted to start off today just kind of introducing myself. My name is Wade, and I am a worship pastor from Athens, Texas. This is a picture of me and my wife, Kristen, and she is actually, we're huge Texas Rangers fans, and so I just want to make sure that you guys don't make fun of us. I know that we're the worst team in the league right now, so we don't need, that's a train wreck. But today, I just want you to know that I'm just a worship pastor from Athens, Texas. If any of y'all know where Athens, Texas is, please give me a shout out on there. Say yes. If not, I can let you know it's about an hour from the Dallas area, about an hour east of Dallas, and it is, you know, we're a little bitty community of about 12,000 people. It's not the biggest town in the world, and we don't have all the best places to eat, but it's a really great place to live, and I love my church that I work at. I work at First Baptist Church in Athens, Texas. See, we got a couple more people showing up. We want to welcome you guys as well. Go ahead today. I want to know not just about who I am, but I want to know who you guys are. So please go ahead in the group chat over there and let me know what your name is, and if you are a worship pastor or worship leader, maybe a tech member, just a band member, feel free to just start the chat up in the side over there, guys. My technical term is I'm a pastor of worship and media, which means I find myself in a lot of different situations every week. Sometimes I'm working on fixing, problems that aren't at all related to worship, and so I know some of us, we're not just the worship leaders at our church, but we're doing a lot more, and that's church ministry. And so that's me. Again, this is me and my wife, and we live in Athens, Texas, and I am a huge fan of Loop Community. I'm a huge contributor in Loop Community. I really believe in what Loop Community does to help leaders just like you and me to lead and use loops and clicks and things like that in worship. So without any more introductions, let's get right into it today. Have you ever felt like this after a worship rehearsal? Like, have you ever just felt like completely defeated, completely broken down, and that's my dog right there. And sorry about that. The reason that I'm at home today is because my wife actually, or my church, we have our internet at church is no good today, and so I had to come home and switch where I'm doing this today, and so you might have the occasional bark of the dog or the occasional sorry about that. So anyway, have you ever felt like this? And it's kind of funny that that was happening because I think there's so many things that can cause this to happen in a worship rehearsal. There's so many things that can come in the way, and all of a sudden we end up finding ourselves just wrecked. That after the rehearsal we are just, what am I going to do? Like, what in the world happened to get us to this place? What went wrong? If you've been there, type yes in the group chat. You know, I think that there have been some times for me that I have been had to just get to the point of totally stopping in rehearsal with the team and saying, guys, you know, we don't know this music. We're not ready to even rehearse. Like, we need to just call it quits now. We need to go home. We need to spend some time with the music. We need to come back on Sunday. That has happened with me. And so, you know, I want you to know that I'm just a worship leader from a small church in a small community that has been doing worship ministry for a while, and we all run into this moment in worship ministry. And then there are the times when, let's be real, I mean, the service, it went perfect. I mean, everything that could have went right in our rehearsal, it went smoothly, and things were beautiful, and the team was ready. Everything fell right into place. And if you're like me, you want to capture why things went so well. You want to find out what were the things that I did and systematize them so that we can make that happen every single week. Like, what are some things that we can do? You know, what are those things? Can we write out a list of the things that made it go well, and let's systematize that and make it happen every week. And guess what? Years of trying, I have not been successful at finding a list of things that can make a rehearsal go smoothly. And why? Well, we're just up against way too much. There's so many obstacles that get in the way of just having a great rehearsal. I've seen too many times where, you know, it seems like I'm prepared, things are ready to go, and then the Thursday night rehearsal comes along, and guess what? There's obstacles like ProPresenter's messed up. Something's not right in the media booth, and I've got to go run up there and fix it. The sound guy calls and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't be there this week." The loop rig that you're running is not working. Ableton, your computer crashes. Technology. There's so many things that can just get in the way of making the rehearsal effective. And unfortunately, we're just up against a lot of things in a regular, you know, week. And every church is different, and that's why there's no system for, you know, there's no list that you can check off and make sure that if I do X, Y, and Z, we're going to have a great rehearsal this week. You know, different churches are different. Some of us might have a bunch of tech people working on those things. Some of us might be all alone in that. Some of you might even have to be running your own sound on Sunday mornings. That is not out of the question. I've seen many people do that. So there's all these different deals. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, this webinar is really going to be an attempt to offer to you some suggestions on what are some things that we can all do to help make our worship rehearsals as successful and effective as they can possibly be. So we're going to spend some time talking about a few of those things, and then after we're done talking about that, we're going to move on to some of the most annoying things that worship leaders do on a regular basis. And I actually spoke with some of my band members. I spoke with other worship leaders. I spoke with other people I've done music with. So I got a list of some really funny things to share with y'all. kind of things that we do, and we might not even think about it, but it really can cause some more obstacles for us in our worship rehearsals. Then we're going to look shortly at some things that I do regularly with Ableton and using click tracks to help make rehearsal run by a little bit smoother. I see that there are plenty of people on here. Have you guys been able to chat in the group window on the side? If you could, I haven't gotten any remarks on here, so I want to make sure that you guys are seeing and hearing everything okay. If you could, just go ahead and let me know that you're here and where you're from and what your name is. I'd love to get to know you. So the first thing I want to talk about today, as we're getting started, is what is your vision for rehearsal? Have you cast a vision to your team for what a successful rehearsal looks like? What does your band think a successful rehearsal is? You know, I don't know where I heard this or from who or what, but from the beginning of when I started to lead worship, it was really important to me to make sure that we were always treating the rehearsal as a time of worship. I mean, after all, how can we ever hope to lead the church in worship if we can't worship together as a team? Am I right? The biggest thing, the number one thing that you can do to help improve your worship rehearsals is to surrender your time in worship rehearsals to God as a time of worship. Preparation plays a big role. The way that you react and the way that you act and the things, there's some technical things that you can do to make rehearsals work better. But the biggest thing that you can do to help your team is to treat and surrender your time in rehearsal as a time of worship to God. It's important to remember that in rehearsal we're preparing our team to lead worship. You know, so we got to make sure that we ourselves in that rehearsal time are worshiping. I think you'd be surprised at what a difference this makes. And I've talked to lots of worship leaders, and we all agree that this is the number one thing you can do. So let's make rehearsal a time of worship. Have you cast that vision to your team? Now, that's not to say that we're not going to stop and fix a part, or we're not going to work on a chord change, or we're not going to have to deal with the form of a song or figure out something with lights or sound or whatever. It doesn't say that we're not going to do that. But when we're actually in the midst of a rehearsal, we need to be plugged into the Spirit of God in worship. And so just consider, you know, starting your rehearsal with a call to worship. You know, whether it's a scripture, jam on a tune, do it for the whole team. You know, if you have a bunch of tech people in the room, you got your sound guys and you got everyone, take a moment right at the beginning of worship to just get everyone's attention, come together and say, hey guys, you know, we're here to worship. We're here to come into the midst of God's presence and in worshiping. So that is just one of the things that I have talked about so many times. I mean, imagine a theater rehearsal. If you are going to be getting ready for a play and you come in and the actor that you're about to act with just sort of starts to dryly read their lines and isn't looking at you, isn't trying to prepare like that. I mean, it's dry. It's not real. And the thing is that the goal, we want it to make it become to worship God, not just get the music right. You know, we don't really practice worship. Worship itself is a practice. I'm going to say that again. I've been thinking about this a lot. We don't practice. We don't rehearse worship. Worship is a practice. It's something that we do. It's something that we do to bring honor and glory to someone, to our God, who is absolutely worthy of our praise. So we don't practice worship. Worship is a practice. This is the same in worship rehearsals. You know, I have been in plenty of rehearsals that have been dry, just run through the songs and done. And I leave thinking, man, what in the world just happened? And so just always keep in mind as you're leading your team, what can I do to cultivate a culture of worship in our worship team? Final reminder in all of this is just to treat rehearsal in and of itself as just a time of community, a time of communion with your family, with the people that you love. Spend some time praying with them. Spend some time learning what's going on in the lives of the folks that you're leading with. This is the closer you grow in community, the better your offering of worship is going to be, because you're going to be more authentically praising God together as a team. It's going to draw you together emotionally, which is also going to help you work together as a team. And so spend some time. That time is just as important as running through every single one of your songs. Spend some time in prayer with your team. That's the spiritual, that's the beginning part. That's the part that we want the vision. Like, have you cast a vision to your team for it to be a time of worship? Now let's switch gears and let's talk about preparation. Are you prepared for worship? Have you prepared yourself? Every week I think about this. Like, our rehearsals are on Thursdays, and so most of my week is not honestly revolved around getting ready for worship rehearsal. But on Thursdays, I spend the better part of the entire afternoon getting ready for our rehearsal. And you really need to spend a lot of time. Now, what are the things you need to do? Well, this is Loop Community. So the first thing that is really important is that if you are using loops, that you have your set list all prepared and ready to go. There's so many times that if you're sitting having to fumble around through your computer or on your iPad app or whatever you're using, if you're using Loop Community Prime, or if you're using your iPhone or whatever you're using, you don't want to spend a lot of time finding the right track, doing all this stuff. You want to do all that mixing and prep time before. I am going to show, however, here in a little bit, a few things that I do with Ableton in rehearsal to help kind of the productivity of rehearsal. So there are some things you can do with Ableton, but you really don't want to be messing around a lot with Ableton in rehearsal. You want to be spending that time in worship with your team and in community with them. And so that's just the first thing, is make sure you have your set list ready to go. Mics, batteries, make sure you have fresh batteries in all your mics, just like you would on a Sunday morning. Your gear, guitar players, if you've got a lot if you need to have the right sounds and patches together for your guitar, make sure you know going in. We talk about things that are annoying to band members here in a little bit, and like one of the things is just not being prepared. Coming in and it's clear that you haven't spent a lot of time and you're not ready, whether that's the sounds that, if you're a keyboard player, you don't know what type of sound you want for a certain song, or and we can certainly spend some time tweaking those things in rehearsal, but have a good idea of where you want to start, a good starting point. Remember that the band takes its cues off of you, and the more prepared you are every week, week in and week out, the more prepared you are, you set the bar for where you want them to be. I'm going to talk in a minute about casting a vision for what you expect your team, how you expect them to prepare. And so you need to live above and beyond that mark. They take its cues off you, and so the more prepared you are, the more prepared your band is going to be. And this is something that I started doing several years ago, and it has made all the difference in the world. Memorize the charts, and it helps you lead worship better. It helps you be more connected to the moment of what's happening. to not have your head stuck in a chart or not be fumbling to find the next chord. But it helps you lead your rehearsal more effectively if you don't have to be stuck on the charts. A lot of us, if we're worship pastors, we have time in our week that we can spend memorizing that stuff, playing. Where some of our volunteers might not have time to memorize every single chord, you definitely can. And I would say even if you're leading worship and you have a full-time job, if you're leading in that rehearsal, it's important for you to be really well prepared. And so the memorizing of charts is just a quick way that you can really, if you don't have to be looking at music, you can really help you. And now this is part 2 of the last part of preparing yourself, and that is just to prepare your heart. To just find a place of quiet before and pray. Just spend a little bit of time preparing your heart to lead your band in worship. I think that we underestimate the power that we have on our side, that we're not alone, that God, He is working through us and in us in every moment of our life, not just on the stage on Sunday morning, but in rehearsal, that it's an offering of worship. And so just really, really spend some time preparing yourself, and it'll really help your rehearsals go smoothly. The second part is preparing your team, and this is a big, big important part of this. Psalm 33, verse 3 says this: "Sing to him a new song, play skillfully, and shout for joy." I think it's interesting that phrase, it says play skillfully. And it doesn't just say to play, but it says to play skillfully. And I think that's a vision that we need to communicate with our teams. I think we all want excellence in worship, and we all want excellence. We want our teams to sound good. We want the music to sound good. Well, part of that, a huge part of that, is just casting the vision to them that here's what the expectations are, guys. Just being authentic with them and saying, guys, you're a really talented group. Be positive. We're talented, and God has given us gifts, and let's use these gifts for His glory. And so cast a vision of expectation. Look, I fully communicate to my team, like, guys, I expect us to sound as good as the album. And I don't want us to make that the goal, right? But I do want us to say that it's totally possible, especially using loops, it's totally possible for us to really sound like full and good. And so cast that vision to your team. Do they know what to expect, coming? They know my team. I spend a lot of time talking to them. Listen, we only have one Thursday rehearsal, and then we have a set list on Sunday. And so spend some time letting them know, like, guys, we don't have a lot of time together on Thursday, so when you are here, really appreciate it if you spend some time beforehand with the songs and are ready to go. The rehearsal time of the band is really a time for us all to come together with the individual parts that we've already learned. And so I've had friends talk to me about, well, hey man, I got this guitar player that just thinks he's so good he can just show up, and he doesn't do any preparation, he doesn't do anything like that. And I've had that conversation with several people, and the thing is that you really just have to just be honest with them and say, listen, I know that you're really talented, and this is just a critical conversation that sometimes needs to happen, is to say, hey, I know you're really talented, but this is a team effort, and I need you to spend time with these songs so that you're not distracting us or keeping us from accomplishing what we need to accomplish in a worship practice. And people catch on to that vision. They really do. Musicians want to be good. We're all artistic. We all want to sound good. And so really spend some time casting a vision for them. And if you haven't been doing that, maybe you just come to the next rehearsal and you say, hey guys, I haven't been getting you the charts in time. You know, I'm going to really work hard on that. Be vulnerable to them and let them know, hey, you know, I really want us to start coming to rehearsal and maybe spending a little more time being ready to go. And that kind of connects to this. Make sure you're sending out recordings and charts early enough for people to be prepared. It does you no good to expect greatness out of your players if you aren't sending them out at least several days in advance. And so I don't know what your timeline is. I would suggest a week in advance. If you can have the songs ready and send them out a week in advance, that'd be really good. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch and show you something else that you can do here. If we look on here, I've got, this is Planning Center Online. I hope some of you guys are using Planning Center Online. It really is a good one. This is my worship set this week. And so something else that you can do to prepare your team is use something like this. Planning Center Online makes a huge difference. And if your band can have the right chart, make sure that the chart is correct, the chords are right, what you want them to have. And then make sure that the MP3 is on there and it's working and they can listen to it. Something else I do is I will actually upload the multi-track that we're going to be using for the week so that they can rehearse with the click track. So I just throw it on there, and they can just come in.
Intro, 2, 3, 4.
And right in Planning Center, they can rehearse with their track
Chorus,
for the week.
2,
And so
3,
I think, it's really important that all of this stuff is solid before, as far as casting a vision to keep your team up with the level of expectation that you're expecting. Because let's be honest, we're expecting them to come in ready to go, play through a song, and then be doing it for people in just a few days. You know, we're only going to get 2 hours together on a Thursday. That's totally different than a band that plays together and is doing the same set list over and over. And so it's a different world in the church. So make sure you're using these tools to help them understand, you know, what their expectation is. Lay it out there for them. It will really help. Now that's sort of talking about all the preparation stuff. Well, what about when the rehearsal is here? What are we going to do? So we have hopefully we've prepared ourselves both mentally, spiritually. We have spent time memorizing the music. We have all our chord charts in the right place. We've printed them all off for them. They're all correct. They're ready to go. All the text stuff is ready to go. And 6 o'clock rolls around, and your time is now to lead the rehearsal. Well, what are you going to do? Well, the first thing that I do whenever I'm leading a rehearsal, it goes all the way back. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier, is that we need to set the expectation for rehearsal to be a time of worship. We're a worship team, and we're leading worship. We're going to practice, but we're going to rehearse. But the focus of all of this music that we're singing is to glorify God. And so take a minute at the beginning of rehearsal to just pray. Maybe you're going to share a scripture. I even call it like a call to worship. Spend some time just saying, hey guys, you know, let's come together, and I'll read a passage of scripture. Sometimes I pray. Sometimes we do prayer requests. And then the next thing that I do a lot of times is I just sort of start to play. And this is an important thing that you can do with your team in rehearsal, is just jam with your team a little bit. Have some fun playing some music together that no one is prepared. This will not only prepare you for those spontaneous moments in worship when the pastor says, you know, hey, the band's going to come up and just start playing some songs while we, you know, this will help prepare you for those moments. But what I do a lot of times, I just start, like if we're playing, you know, Whom Shall I Fear, I'll just start fiddling on my guitar a little bit, and then I'll just, you know, people are like tuning and all this, the drummer's kind of hitting the drums over there, and then I just sort of start to play, and then everyone just sort of starts to fall in with you. and just practice that jamming, because that's what we're here for. That's what we're doing together. Is we're going to worship God. We're going to bring these instruments that God has given us, and we're going to offer His praise. We're going to come into His holy place. And so do that with your team. Spend some time just worshiping together without anything else, without anything that you prepared. Just start to play a chorus. Worship a little bit. Spend some time doing that with your team. Then an important thing to do is just to lay some groundwork for the rehearsal. This might be to say, all right, guys, well, we got these 5 songs, or maybe we're doing the Lord's Supper this week, so we got communion this week. So we're gonna, once we run through the main worship set, we're gonna spend some time working on how that is gonna go. Maybe we have a reading this week, or maybe we have some other special elements that are going in. You want to let them know kind of the framework for the week, the flow of what you're doing, because when they have an idea, when it's all about casting vision, is when they have an idea, okay, here's where we're going, they're much more likely to follow you. So lay groundwork. Now this is something that I saw this earlier, and I thought, oh man, this is great. This is cuts the lows on the bass guitar, and the bassist turns up his amp. What a great truth that we experience all the time, with sound guys. And this is one of those barriers that we have in rehearsals. It's like, how do you deal with the sound guy or the sound girl? Well, here's the deal. Your sound person is playing an instrument for you. Your loop track, whatever it is, or if your loop's tracks, if you have multiple tracks, this person is just as much a part of the band. So it's important to include them. And I have found that it's very, very much helpful to have a clear communication path with the sound person. There have been too many times when singers are trying to get monitors altered or other things like that, and Aviom units and personal mixing units absolutely help. And so if you don't have those, I totally encourage you to look into that. But yeah, so what we do, what I do a lot is I spend some time with the person. I spend some time with talking to the sound guy and to my band about just if you need to accomplish something with the sound, if you need to hear something more, if something is not right, please communicate with me, and I'll communicate with the sound person. That really, really helps. That really helps the entire flow of the event. There's way too many times that people are, they're trying to talk to the sound guy, and you're trying to move things on, and that barrier can be such a bad thing. And so make sure you have a clear communication with the sound guy. Now we're going to talk about just the actual, okay, we're ready to start into our worship set. You have your loop rig or whatever you're using set up, ready to go. Maybe it's your click track, and you're ready to go into song 1. Well, here's something I've learned with loops that really will help you out, is run through the loop all the way through. Most of the time you have a whole arrangement that you're trying to run through, and so go ahead and run through the whole thing and communicate that with your team. It's all about communication. It's saying, hey guys, we're going to run through this whole song, and if we mess up, instead of stopping and then going back, no, we're gonna plow through. And we're not going to play it perfect this first time, but it's all about communication. You're just going to say to them, guys, you know what? We're going to run through this whole thing. We're not going to stop, and then we'll go back and work on problem parts. If you do that, you'd be surprised at how much people will correct already things that they've messed up. Maybe the drummer misses a cue, or maybe your keyboardist plays something wrong or something. Instead of having to totally stop and fix every single one of those things, you'll go mad if you're always doing that. But if you just run through the whole loop, I've found that it really helps us to all stay together. And guess what? We're getting ready. We're rehearsing. We're getting ready to lead worship. So if someone messes up on Sunday, you can't just stop in the middle of it and say, well, hey guys, let's do that bridge again. But if you plow through, I think you'd be surprised at how much that'll just help you get ready, and then you might only have to do it twice. A lot of times in my rehearsals, I'll run through a song, and then I'll run through it again maybe, and then maybe touch another part, and that's all that we're going to do. And then sometimes we'll run through one song once, and I'm like, hey, you know what, we're ready. And that's something that I want to talk about too is, and I kind of drew this out because it's sort of like, where do you want to be with a song in rehearsal? And so I think, one of the things that I've found is, if you can see the mouse here, is like you've got like time down here. So here's time going along. Maybe we start rehearsal back here. And quality is this. And so you want to be the best quality. And a lot of times in rehearsal in church, you want to be the best quality in the shortest amount of time. But here's Sunday, and I want to be clear, like, so Sunday is coming, and you want to be at your best on Sunday. You want it to sound the best on Sunday. And so sometimes that means in rehearsal, sometimes you're not going to be 100% ready to go, and that's okay. I told you there have been times when we have really been like come to rehearsal and no one's ready, no one knows the song. It's a nightmare. It's a train wreck. And there have been times, and I think that God speaks to us in these moments and really humbles us in these moments. But there are times when I've had to just stop a rehearsal and say, guys, we just need to go home and we need to listen to this stuff. We need to come back on Sunday and be ready. And that takes a lot of trust in your team. But if they're not able, if no one knows a song, then there's no way we can run through it. And so you want to be in a place in rehearsal where you're not quite there, but you're almost there. There's a sweet spot, and it's hard to describe. But so that takes that takes time, and it takes knowing. So just know, like, you're probably going to run through things on Sunday morning. So know not to beat something into the ground in rehearsal. That can be really, really bad and distracting for your team. It's just to play it over and over and over, and then by the time Sunday comes, we've just played it 1,000 times, and it's just dry and it's lost. You want that magic moment when you all get it just perfect to be on Sunday morning. And so just know there's sort of a balance there of knowing when. Next thing that's important to know is to run through the song without the loop. You ran through the song with the loop once, you maybe worked a part, maybe you need to work a section, you want to hear some other instruments better. Instead of having a click track in your ear that whole time, maybe take a little bit of time and just run through that section without the loop. And it's important to run through stuff without that help, without the click track, without the time, just for a minute so that we can all listen to each other and we can play together. And so I do that a lot too, is, I'll say, okay guys, we're just going to run through this section, part of this section, and we're not going to use the loop. Even if we're missing some of the key little things that are in there, we're just not going to use that. We're just going to listen to each other. And let's get it together right here so that when we play it with the loop, that we're all playing it right together. So you can do that. Next thing is be ready to communicate clearly your vision with the song dynamically. So dynamics are so important. I think that that's one of the biggest things that we misunderstand and misinterpret when we're talking about leading worship is dynamic change. And so really have a roadmap for the song in your head of, okay, and sometimes I just use a term of like 1 to 10. This bridge, we're going to be at about a 6. And then the second bridge, we're going to be at about a 7. And then the time we come to the last chorus, we're going to bring it down to a 2, and then we're going to build it all the way up to a 10. Just be able to know and communicate what exactly you want them to know about how ready to be dynamically, when the quiet parts are going to be, when the loud parts are going to be. Dynamics are one of the biggest things that somehow connect us emotionally with the song. And if it's totally loud the entire song, you're just, I don't care what song it is, you're missing out on dynamics. So just really listen to the track and know kind of where are their dynamic changes. Where can we maybe add some dynamic changes? Be creative with that. Spend some time doing that. So those are some things that you can do in a rehearsal. Just sort of setting the precedence, praying together, and then laying a groundwork. Making sure you're communicating with the sound guy in a good way. Running through the loop without stopping. Then running through the song without the loop, without the click. Listening to each other. Communicating clearly and not talking down to your band, but encouraging them the whole time. It's all encouragement. It's all encouragement. And it's all worship. So remember, at the end of all of that, what we said at the very beginning is just really connect to the heart of God and surrender your time of rehearsal to Him for worship, to glorify Him as a team. Because, like I said, how in the world can we hope to lead our church in worship if we cannot lead each other in worship? If we can't worship together, how can we do that with the church? Okay, now here are a couple things. These are probably, these are things just smack my head moments, right? Things that I have done. And this is something that we're all guilty of at some point or another. Not being on time, not coming prepared, not giving a clear expectation or vision for what the rehearsal time is going to be like, and not listening. These are some things, that the time thing is really important. Like maybe you have a lot of stuff to work on, maybe you've got a lot of things going on, but if you're not on time, you're not setting precedents. Like I said, the band is going to take their cues off of you. So spend some time being on time. If you know that you need an hour of work before rehearsal, you need to get there an hour and a half early to make sure you have time. Make sure you come prepared, and they will follow suit. Okay, give them an expectation, and listen when your band. In my band, I have a keyboard player that has perfect pitch. Yeah, it can be totally annoying. I have a piano player that is actually he's a piano instructor at a college, so he always wants like sheet music, and you probably have some of those people, and so very good musical people, right? And then I have a guitar player that's new, and he's been just doing. He's gotten so good over the last couple of years, but he's still new. He doesn't read music, and so you got to know how to communicate with all of those people in a rehearsal. And you're juggling things that a lot of people in other musical rehearsal situations aren't juggling as a worship leader. So know how to communicate with both types of people, and spend some time ready, and make sure if you got a guy that's got perfect pitch, you better know what key you're in. If you got a guy that is really good musically, you better know if that little bridge part comes in on the third beat, or if it comes in on the upbeat, or if there is a syncopated rhythm, or you need to spend some time understanding the musical aspects of the song so that you can communicate with your band. And it's different for everyone. Led at several churches, and it's been different every time. So what works for me isn't necessarily going to work exactly for you. So that feels like, wow, we got through all of that. And feel free to comment some questions. If you have any questions or you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear with you. But we're going to move on now to the last part of today, and this is some things that I do in Ableton in my rehearsals. So I hope that this isn't something that you have to do. This isn't at all any of that, but it is some things that I do, some techniques that I use with loops, and I hope that you can learn something here. And so we've got Ableton over here, and now we're going to look at a few things in Ableton. So if you're using Ableton every week, I hope you're using Session View. You can also use the linear view, but Session View is awesome. So you've got your, like we're talking about, getting prepared. You've got your set here. You've got your songs laid out. We know what songs we're going to be doing this week, and it's all ready to go. Now, what I want to show you guys today is right over here. This is where it says click. This is something that I have been using for several years now, and I keep using it because it really, really helps. This is a the simplest way to be able to control some click sounds in your band. And so I'm going to play it now without it, and you'll see. So we have no click on this one. So we might turn on the click enableton up here, and you get those quarter beats. And that's helpful, but I play with a lot of different drummers, and some of them actually, might want eighth notes, or they might want, I don't know. I mean, 16th notes even. I mean, I want to provide the drummer with whatever kind of click sound he or she needs to play it in time and to stick on the click, because there's no way we're gonna stay on this if my drummer can't stay on the click. And so what I will show you is this click track area that I use over here. Basically what I do is I have these are just MIDI clips. It's a 1-bar MIDI clip over here, and I use from Live 8's library. If you go to that, you come up here to Instruments, Kit, or Instruments, Drum Rack, Kit, and under there is this Kit 808 Classic right there. And Kit 808 Classic is probably not the kit that you want to use if you're recording an album, but it's great for these click tracks, and I'll show you what I do. So this allows me in Rehearsal, I've got my whole band here, and now I'm going to turn it on. So now you can hear that I've got that kind of clav going, and then I've got the eighth notes under it. And this is great because I can use the pencil app. So if you hit Command B, it will toggle you from arrow to pencil, and the pencil lets you draw MIDI notes. So this clav, maybe I want to add eighth notes. So let's see what it sounds adding eighth notes. So we can add, I can do this on the fly in Rehearsal. So say my drummer says, "Hey man, I'm not getting that quite right with the click. Can you add eighth notes, or can you add 16th notes?" And what I've found is that this clav sound, I'll show you guys. I'll turn it on. So this clav sound right here, it really cuts through well. It's a lot like the Ableton click, but it's a little bit different. It really cuts through the mix, and then it paired with rim. I put that on the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and together those two really seem to make their way through. And a lot of times I'll just throw this little maraca sound on the eighth note, and I'll say 90% of the time this is the sound that we've got for our click. And so I just show you that to show you, like, you can just use one regular line here in one instrument and just copy paste this this little MIDI note on every one of your songs. And this way, once you get to the end of a song, since this is a looping, you got to make sure you have loop selected here in the bottom by the notes. Under notes, it says loop. Make sure you have loop selected. It will loop. So once we get done with this track, it will still stay on that click, and I'll be able to continue. Maybe we want to do another chorus at the end of it, or maybe we want to do the bridge again, or something like that. It allows you to be, more. At the end, it allows you to have that moment of creativity at the end of a song. Now, a lot of times, I'll just use this clip for a song like "So Praise Him" down here. We're not going to use any sound. I'm actually going to mute those, and we're just going to use the click track because I just need the click track. And so this lets me, in the middle of Rehearsal, come in here and real quickly add. I can even add these little 16th notes if I want, and it really is just a little thing that I do a lot, and it takes no time to just quickly go over to the computer and add those in. Now, something that someone brought up, and I think is a great point, is what if you you're running through this song? What if you need to stop in the middle of a song and run through halfway through, something like that? Well, I'll show you what I do, and a lot of times I'll have this ready if it's a new song. Let's say we haven't done the song. Maybe it's a new song. And so you can come in here, and in arrangement view, you can add these markers, which let you start anywhere in the song that you want. And so a lot of times, if we're starting a new song, I'll actually open an arrangement view for our rehearsal, and I will run the loop in arrangement view. And all you have to do is assign your MIDI pedal. So I have a loop to miss pedal, and I will just assign the start button, the play button to 1, the stop button to stop, and then I will do like verse, chorus, and anything that lights up purple here you can assign to a MIDI note. And so for rehearsal, this is great because I don't even have to look at my computer. I can run from certain sections of the song just by programming my pedal, and this really helps in just rehearsal flow because then I don't have to be back and forth at my computer all the time. I can say, all right, guys, we're gonna start at the chorus. I hit that button, and there we are in the chorus of the song. And so I'll show you how to do this real quick. When the song's running along, as you see over here, we have a little button that says Set. And Matt McCoy talks about this in several of his webinars. But this sets, when you click it, as you see, it sets a small marker. Then you just hit Command R, and you can name it part of song. So whatever it is, you know, the verse, chorus, whatever. And so what I actually do is I'll come into arrangement view, and I'll set it at a place that's a little bit before the chorus, right? And then I'm gonna rename it chorus lead in. And then I just assign my MIDI note to chorus lead in, and then I hit it, and I hit play, and there we are. That way, we're in the middle of a song. We've already ran through the whole song, and I say the drummer's like, hey, we really need to run that bridge again. I say, all right, guys, well, we're gonna come in at the chorus that's right before the bridge, okay? And they're like, all right, Wade, sounds good. And then boom. So those are just some little tips that you can use as far as getting things ready for rehearsal, getting things ready in rehearsal, and doing some things to help you. I hope that some of this has been helpful for you guys, and you can definitely. I'd love to stay connected with you guys. Hi, it's me. This is Wade, and I'm really passionate about helping other leaders grow, and I want to continue the conversation with you guys. And so, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts about some of the stuff I talked about today, if you want to add to the conversation, I'd love to hear from you. You can grab me on Twitter or on Instagram at Wade Huggins. Not very complicated. And so I'd love to stay connected with you guys. And since you're obviously connected to Loop Community, I can just say Loop Community has made all the difference in the process that I use to work with my rehearsals, to work with my band, and it has made all the difference in the world in my music ministry. And so thank you guys if you're putting tracks on there, if you are using the tracks. I just want to encourage you to spread the word and to continue to use Loop Community to help improve your worship band, because I can tell you it really is a huge, huge help. And so I hope all this stuff has helped you out a little bit, just some thoughts that I've had, and I hope that you can go to your rehearsals now this week and you can say, hey guys, let's worship together tonight. And hey guys, here's some expectations for what I expect out of you, and I hope that you're expecting out of me. And then live up to those expectations that you laid out for your team, and just continue to worship God through your rehearsal time. And really, I've talked for an hour about all this, but the truth is that all you have to do is surrender your time to God, and He will take over and really make some things happen. So I hope y'all are doing that. Ableton is awesome. There are lots of things that you can do and learn, and I just started using Ableton like 5 years ago. So time flies. But thank you all for joining, and I hope to get to know some of you better. So God bless you, and thank you for what you're doing to lead the local church and worship. We'll see you guys later. Thanks.